You guys ready? You gonna pixelate my face and disguise my voice? What do you mean, no? What? You can't? You told me that I would have a secret identity, that I wouldn't be You told me I wouldn't be exposing myself. People are gonna recognize me. Well, it's too important. We have to get this information out there. I'm just gonna have to risk it. I'm gonna have to take the chance. I'm gonna have to expose myself. We're ready? Okay. Oh, now? I come to you today in the spirit of public service. This is a mental health warning, as well as a call to arms. Humanity is facing an intellectual crisis of truly pandemic proportions. We are under attack by a nefarious and hidden enemy. In fact, a secret war has been raging all around us, and yet most of us remain completely unaware. The enemy's strategy has been a centuries-long covert war of attrition, and the campaign of conquest is for your mind. Their attack is aimed at the human intelligence, the very heart of what defines us as human beings. This cloaked offensive has been embedded into the very structure of civilization. Unfortunately, the diabolic adversary I'm attempting to expose is too nebulous to be named. Command and control of their forces is directed by a shadowy cabal of social engineers, or more accurately termed, social alchemists. Their grand strategy is to control and shape humanity to suit their own self-serving needs and vile purpose. The twisted conundrum we all face is that the soldiery of their forces is made up of the same members of society they seek to control. Politicians, media moguls, administrators, and business leaders, public educators, and the bourgeoisie all fall in line to hypnotically serve these hidden puppeteers. People, just like you and me, have been trained and duped into doing their bidding. Fools and useful idiots, all tricked into perpetuating their schemes. Subjected to the institutionalized suppression of cognitive freedom, the people have unwittingly become the agency of their own domination. Cultivating widespread intellectual cowardice is one of the most effective ways to keep an entire population ignorant. Not only will the subjugated not question the machinations of the social alchemists, they are too afraid to even contemplate their existence. To do this, the enemy is continually pursuing the development of new mind control technologies, employing a broad spectrum of the science and social engineering research communities. They're developing radically new technologies and capabilities, like advanced weaponized memetic viruses. These types of viral memes directly attack cognitive processes and are believed to be one of the leading causes of irrational intellectual cowardice syndrome. At the moment, it's not clear to researchers if the WMVs are a direct cause of IICS, or if they just increase one's susceptibility by impairing natural autonomous cognition. Other risk factors that can lead to the development of IICS include academic impotence, conceptual dysfunction,
First, you duck, and then you cover.
and institutionalized education trauma. Risk factors involving parenting include parental rejection, lack of parental warmth, patronizing superiority, and harsh pseudo-intellectualism. Utilizing all forms of media as a vector, rampant and contagious WMVs have been released through newspapers, radio, television, magazines, movies, and especially the internet. Using the mainstream mass media, as well as the alternative media, the worst attacks have been in the Americas and across Europe. Due to the widespread use of WMVs, experts believe that IICS has the potential to reach pandemic proportions. One of the most recognizable and common symptoms of IICS is the paranoid tendency to shun any new or controversial idea, especially alternative views of history and theoretical social scientific analysis of institutionalized oppression, often referred to as conspiracy theory. People who exhibit symptoms of IICS have difficulty recognizing the obvious and unmistakable pernicious influences that propel countless political, financial, and religious agendas. They have trouble processing information and will typically shrink away from clearly incontrovertible evidence only to cower in the comfort and protection of a well-defined consensus reality. Here is an easy test that you can self-administer to tell whether or not you are exhibiting symptoms of irrational intellectual cowardice syndrome. Ask yourself this question: how do I feel about the term conspiracy theorist? If you had the typically contemptuous reaction caused by the social pariahdom of the term conspiracy theorist, then you are most certainly suffering from a severe case of IICS. The same test can be done using any other typically taboo topic like UFOs, chemtrails, cryptocracy, New World Order, mind control, the Bavarian Illuminati, alien agenda. If these topics make you roll your eyes and puff up with arrogance and insolent dismissiveness, then you're exhibiting the unmistakable symptom of attempting to mask your intellectual insecurity. If these words and phrases inspired curiosity, amusement, or even a neutral stance of objectivity, then you can rest assured you're most likely not afflicted. Once a WMV has been ingested or taken into consideration, if one does not have a natural immunity, the infectious memetic pathogen can invade the host. They are specifically designed to target our capacity for critical thinking, suppressing our ability to think independently and rationally. These memetic pathogens are believed to somehow affect the area of the brain known as the lateral orbital frontal cortex. Scientists have found that the size of the lateral orbital frontal cortex, which is located behind the eyes, could be responsible for how much we change our minds to fit in with the crowd. A study led by neuroscientists at the University College London used brain scans to show that the extent to which people changed their minds to fit in with the crowd was directly linked to the size of this specific area of their brains. Those with a higher volume of gray matter in this particular region showed a greater tendency to conform. This has led to some very disturbing hypotheses by scientists. It may just be that this war on consciousness has been waged over the millennia, with the express purpose to induce genetic variations that form over successive generations. By this kind of covert eugenics, they may have caused a deliberately chosen trait or combination of traits to appear, engendering the increased size of the lateral orbital frontal cortex. If this is true, then the road to freedom from their evil plans of domination will be a very long road indeed. Anyone who values the freedom to think for themselves and to have full ownership of their own consciousness must join the resistance immediately. Resistance is not futile. Remember, for a healthy mind, it's vitally important to stay positive. If you've been infected with a WMV, don't blame yourself. It's really not your fault. The first thing you need to realize is that these memetic weapons have been intentionally released on the public by a heinous cabal of dark wizards. For centuries, their international network of social alchemists have been working to make people more controllable and compliant. It's not only that these memetic viruses are highly contagious. What makes them so dangerous is that the general population has been deliberately conditioned to be susceptible to all varieties of mental pathogens. Neurotoxins and food additives, fluoride in the water, constant television, and propaganda campaigns all are being used to paralyze people's cognitive immune systems and soften their minds. The chemical dumbing down of the masses has been successfully used to create a complacent, mentally pliable, and submissive population. There is no way of really knowing when the development and use of mind control technologies began, although we know for certain that it became institutionalized towards the end of the 19th century. Realizing that to fundamentally change human behavior, they needed to focus on the children from the earliest age possible. Utilizing a Prussian system of compulsory education, schools evolved into experimental behavioral training laboratories. By the 20th century, the Prussian reforms in education spread quickly, refining and perfecting social engineering technologies. These days, by the time one leaves school, their autonomous cognitive abilities have been so seriously damaged their minds are highly susceptible to controlled technologies of all kinds.
Bear this in mind. Young people cannot be trusted to form their own opinions. This business about open-mindedness is nonsense. It's a waste of time trying to teach students to think for themselves. It's our job to tell them.
It's interesting to note that Richard Dawkins, an English ethologist, evolutionary biologist, and author, the one who coined the word meme as it is used today, is himself exhibiting the classic symptoms of IICS. This makes his case very interesting study indeed. He is certainly not alone in that regard, as this cognitive pestilence is systemic throughout academia, and especially within the sciences. It is believed by some that ancient secret societies of nefarious social alchemists founded and built the universities in order to clandestinely seed the roots of their pernicious influence. If this is the case, then it would explain why, ironically, those that profess a love of reason and science continually hide behind dogmatic rhetoric and avoid any real scientific dialogue and evidence. Relying on straw man tactics and logical fallacies, they continually evade real debate, only to preach their pseudo-scientific fundamentalist opinions. These are the unmistakable symptoms of chronic IICS. I'm sure this all sounds dire and hopeless, but really there's no need to worry. I'm not trying to spread fear or panic. Memetic viral infections are curable. Although it's not easy and it can be a long and difficult process, there are many of us that are fortunate enough to have a natural immunity to the disease, and we are working together to create a vaccine. Although at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any easy answers. The preventative medicine approach has been proven to be the most beneficial, although for older patients the process is more difficult and can take more time. One such treatment that is producing significant benefits is called Holistic Cognitive Sovereignty Therapy. HCST treatments usually involve some combination of herbal medications, cognitive sovereignty yoga, lifestyle changes, and counseling. These treatments can be very effective, especially if started in the early stages of infection. A lifetime proactive protocol can be set up, and if the patient sticks with the program, then a serious relapse can be avoided. A qualified HCST practitioner can be found online or by contacting our Cognitive Sovereignty Support Group here at the Wu Wei Cafe. If you are having trouble believing what I am saying, then you may indeed already be infected. Although paradoxically, it may also mean that you may be one of the naturally immune. The fact that you are skeptical is a good sign your cognition may not be impaired. The veritas of my warning, the truth of this grave threat, this is for you to decide. The truth is, we don't have to be victims. With proper training, we can learn to think for ourselves. P.S. If you're familiar with the philosophical school of guerrilla ontology, then you'll be clued in to my inspiration for this satirical and obliquely veridical blog. Consider this your first lesson, free of charge, in cognitive sovereignty yoga.
sound of the natural dub clusters is here. So move your body to the natural dub, to the natural dub, bop, to the natural dub music. The natural dub cluster.